Hey everyone, and welcome back. Now today we're going to be talking about ICP because obviously we've seen some pretty dismal price action happening over the past couple of weeks. We are starting to recover a little bit from that, so I want to talk a little bit about that today. But I also want to talk about the one thing that we are seeing that I think could send ICP price exploding. Now this is something that we've talked about a little bit in the past, but I want to focus in on it today because we've seen it almost 3x in the past 2 months, which is crazy. Because if you think about the past 2 months, nothing really special has happened. If anything, price has actually kind of consistently gone down over these past 2 months. So the fact that we are seeing such an important metric continue to go up, in my opinion, kind of leads to the basis or the thesis that I'm developing that I think ICP is just fundamentally mispriced. That's just my opinion on the matter. Of course, this is not financial advice. You need to make your own decisions, all that type of stuff. This is not, if you are investing, I'm not using my money. You're using your own money. So you need to take responsibility for that, and you need to essentially kind of make sure that you're understanding and living with those types of decisions. But overall, we do have a lot of really interesting things going on within the market today. So anyway, we'll not waste any more time. We'll go ahead, we'll dive right in, starting with crypto bubbles, because we have started to see a little bit of green coming on here lately, which is really nice to see after the past couple of weeks that we've seen. Things are looking really, really dismal. We're seeing some pretty nice bumps all over. We can see SUI up 12%, decent. ADA almost 15%, pretty good. Virtuals almost 20%. Tau 12%. Jasmine 7%. You can see ICP. ICP was in here somewhere. I'm losing it right now, but I had seen it somewhere. Oh, right here, almost 5%. So, decent overall. We are seeing some of these meme coins also running a little bit harder too. But if we look at the week, big news, we're actually green on the week, although you can see some kind of reds mixed in overall, so this isn't just kind of all green everywhere. We can see that kind of Hex and PulseX being kind of the two kind of really leading it to the upside, with a couple other big ones here and there. But overall, we're starting to see a little bit of a turnaround in the market. If we do look at the month though, everything's still pretty red overall. We are seeing a couple of these winners starting to peek through here and there, but overall, the month has been a little bit rough. I will say the two things of note right here by my picture, we can see Solana up 10% on the month, where everything else has been just kind of crushed. And then also Bitcoin up 4%. So, Bitcoin and Solana have been holding really, really well, while the rest of the market has really been doing quite terribly. So something interesting to see there. Also now moving into ICP price, as we mentioned, over the past several weeks, or actually several months for that matter, price not really doing particularly well. And even over the past several weeks, really seeing a kind of a cratering of ICP price. It does look like we have found a bottom, and we are kind of maybe start to see some momentum to the upside from here. This does make sense to be kind of like a spot where we do find a bottom, given that this is actually down at the lows that we saw before the massive run to the upside. So obviously not the best thing to see from price appreciation. Holding at this kind of like $9.50 to $10 range really would have been ideal. But to be completely honest, I'm totally happy with what we're seeing here. I actually, as I mentioned in one of my previous videos, it's doing rather well. I was a big buyer down in this range, and so obviously, I needed to make my own decisions there and get comfortable with why I was doing all that type of stuff. But we can see, things kind of happening a little bit like I was saying that they would. RSI coming a little bit out of oversold, price coming up a little bit, both off of this level of support as well as the bottom of the Bollinger Bands. Now, of course, part of this happened just by way of Bollinger Bands kind of working the way that they do, and we are seeing that the lower band has kind of continued to go down while price is stabilized. So that kind of, even by doing nothing, we are kind of getting closer to the middle, just because that's how that kind of works, right? And so obviously we will need to see a little bit of a trend change for the Bollinger Bands to kind of start moving in the other direction, but they are kind of following what we've seen over the past several months, which is just kind of downward price action. So we'll have to see kind of what happens here, with ICP and everything. If we were to kind of extend this trend line, I would say probably something like this would look good. That would mean we'd probably be running into another trend line somewhere between kind of like the 840 range to like anywhere as low as like $7, just kind of depending when we get there. If we see a really nice bounce out of ICP right now, and then realistically, we could be up getting towards like the $9 range. But if we kind of wait and just kind of go somewhat horizontally, that's going to be closer to like the $7 range. So it really just depends on kind of what happens and when, all that type of stuff. I'm imagining that we maybe see a little bit of consolidation. Maybe we see a little bit of a relief rally from ICP. Maybe we can even like reclaim this level of resistance here, about the $8.50 mark. that would be kind of nice, definitely. But overall, I'm not super worried about kind of the short-term moves of ICP just because of all the things I've mentioned prior. I mean, there's a lot going on within ICP. Things are looking pretty good overall. Even here we can just see, things are starting to recover a little bit, both from the RSI. Volume is holding steady-ish, even though it has kind of fallen down from kind of this higher trading volume period. But overall, I would say not looking great, but the ICP price has at least seemed to have found a bottom. We'll see how long it holds, all that type of stuff, but things looking decent for what we're seeing out of ICP so far. If you are interested in trading ICP, Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever, they've got a whole bunch of different options. Feel free to use the BTCC link in the description below. They are doing that 10% bonus on first-time deposits, which is a really good deal. Also, they have the extra bonuses of up to $10,055 per user, which again, another really good deal there. And then also no VPN or KYC necessary if that is something that's important to you. So a couple of really interesting things that they got there. Obviously, they're throwing a whole bunch of money at you if you are looking for a new place to trade. So like I said, just check the link in the description below. You can find all the links and all that various stuff that you need to go on ahead and get signed up. Now, moving on, I want to kind of talk about what we were alluding to at the beginning of the video, which is last week we actually burned 72.6 thousand ICP. This is up almost 3x from the first week of December. Now, if we do a quick throwback to the chart here, the first week of December was right here. So while we've seen ICP price go basically down only and gone down by over 50%, we've seen their burn rate triple. I don't know about you, but that to me seems like a pretty good deal. And now one thing that we can see here is with the burn rate, like even over a year, they were burning less than 1,000 ICP per week, just a little bit over a year ago, and now we're burning almost 100,000 per week. So getting very, very close to 100xing in the span of a year. Very impressive. That to me definitely looks like exponential growth. Definitely looks like people are adopting, because in case you're not familiar with ICP and how their whole burn mechanism works, the burning is essentially like the money people are paying to host their software or their crypto or whatever on the ICP network. And so this is essentially the fees people are paying to be on their network. And we can see 3xing in almost a span of 2 months, like 70xing in the span of a year. So really, really good growth that we have seen here. This is definitely the trend that we want to see. I would say a little bit on the contrary to a lot of the other cryptos that we have seen. Some of them, like I don't want to go and load up DeFi Llama, but if we go look and load up something like DeFi Llama and we go look at like the revenue and the fees of like a Sui or a Solana, you will see these ridiculous highs, and then it kind of goes back down to like the lows that it was before. And of course, over time, it's like higher highs and higher lows, and it generally kind of fits that trend overall. But it doesn't really look like this, and it's not as consistent as this. And so this is something to me that is very encouraging to see. I'm really interested to see kind of what we're talking about towards the end of 2025. Because, again, as we mentioned, in just a year, we went from about 1,000 to 72,000, almost 73,000. I mean, who knows, right? I mean, maybe this time next year we're burning 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 ICP per week, and that's when there's a very, very real possibility that we do become deflationary on ICP, which would be pretty cool. So anyway, that's kind of one of the big things that I was looking at. The next thing I want to take a look at is just kind of Dominic Williams, the kind of the head of ICP, or at least Dfinity, which is who's in charge of basically the development and all that type of stuff on ICP, kind of put together a little bit of a rap sheet of what ICP is doing, all that type of stuff. Of course, if you're watching this video, you likely know a lot of this, but in case you're new and you're trying to learn about ICP, a lot of that type of stuff, I want to go over just kind of a quick rap sheet of what ICP is able to do, and it's pretty impressive. If you haven't heard of ICP before, I think a lot of this is going to blow your mind, because you might be thinking, well, a lot of this stuff solves some of the big problems in crypto, and you would be right. They do. So you would be as confused as I am when you see people talking about all these big problems in crypto, but then don't actually look to the people who can actually solve them to solve them. So anyway, enough about that being on my soapbox. We're just going to go over a quick kind of rundown of what all this is. We see highest transactions per second. That's pretty clear. On-chain is cloud, also pretty clear. Real on-chain apps, services. This is important because what a lot of people who are maybe new to crypto don't really understand is crypto right now, the only thing that's on a blockchain is the actual transaction itself. Everything else is basically held on like AWS or Azure or those types of servers. And so it's not truly like decentralized. It's all just held on like an AWS server. So what we can see here though is the value proposition is essentially tech utility. The on-chain compute growth is 500+%. On-chain compute is basically greater than total of every other chain, which is pretty impressive. World-renowned known team. This is something that they really pride themselves on a lot. A lot of us complain constantly about how bad the marketing for ICP is, and I think that's pretty fair to say. But what we can see is they've really focused on the tech, the development, the scientists, all that type of stuff. That's what they're focused on, and I think they'll probably get to the marketing later if I had to take a guess, just once they've got the tech in the state that they want it to be in. So we can see open source with the most commits, 20 papers describing its science, a product, 1,000 person years of R&D, again kind of going back to the team, a crypto project dating from 2015, something that's weathered the storms, smart contracts directly serve web. This is also something that's really cool because you don't need to be in their ecosystem or something. Like there's so many crypto projects that you have to kind of like be completely like it's all or nothing, right? You have to be totally in their ecosystem or not at all, where this is not that. Like you can essentially integrate directly into the internet, which is super cool, and it's very like relatable to kind of the mass adoption type of thing. So we can see here smart contracts pay their own compute. This is what we were talking about, the burn rate. Users interact seamlessly without wallets. And actually going back to this, let's focus on why this is important, because if you go to the internet, when you search on the internet, you don't have to like sign a transaction or pay every time you look at a page. No, that's the website's problem, right? The website has to pay the hosting fees. They've got to pay the development fees. They've got to do all this, that, and whatever else. But they make up for it by like charging for ad space or subscriptions or paywalls or whatever, all that type of stuff. But in crypto, it's the other way around, where if you want to interact within crypto, you have to pay for it. And it's a little bit backwards when you think about how we kind of interact with the internet. Because can you imagine how cumbersome it would be to interact with the internet like that? It would be terrible. And so the fact that essentially smart contracts pay their own compute and they do it kind of from that reverse gas model, very, very smart. And I think that is realistic. I think where a lot of these chains probably are going to be going if they want to have like a seamless user interaction, all that. We can see seamlessly without wallets for that exact reason. Trustless multi-chain without bridges, sends Bitcoin 1 second finality near zero cost. Again, this is a whole different conversation, but this is really impressive. And people building on Bitcoin are doing really, really interesting things with ICP because of this. Powers a world computer paradigm, on-chain open internet services, e.g. OpenChat. It's kind of like a Discord type of thing, but on ICP. AI smart contracts, AI that's actually on-chain and again not held by like AWS servers, stuff like that. Self-writing internet ready. This is coming. This is what so many people are super, super excited about. And then of course, much, much more. That's essentially like what they're looking for. And then of course, we kind of get back into the narrative of people trying to keep ICP down and take them out because they're such an existential threat to the rest of the crypto industry, all that type of stuff. Again, I'm not really there in the back rooms or know any of this type of speculative type of stuff, so I try to stay a little bit away from this. It makes sense to me, it really does, but also I don't love to use that as a crutch, because ultimately, ICP is going to be judged on whether it wins or loses, however that happens. And so, overall, I want to just kind of go over that post with you guys, kind of cover a quick rap sheet of all the things that ICP can do. We kind of glazed over, in my opinion, one of the most important things that ICP is able to do, and that's directly integrate with both Bitcoin and Ethereum. So that gives the ability to unlock an immense amount of liquidity for whoever wants to use it. It's not just ICP. Like, there's a tap protocol that's building on Bitcoin that wants to do it. hbar is now integrating with ICP for the exact same reason. Like, there's so many people that are kind of like starting to catch on. There's rumors that there's a possibility Cardano could maybe be considering getting on ICP to unlock Bitcoin development, a lot of that type of stuff. So a lot of crazy things going on. Overall, I'm still very, very bullish on the fundamental things that we are seeing. You can prove out all of this. If you don't believe me, go look for yourself. It's all there. I'm just trying to bring this to you in an easy and digestible way, so you can take a look and figure out, do your own research, all that type of stuff. But really, I'm pretty impressed and very, very excited with what we're seeing from ICP. Everything kind of continues to be moving in the correct direction, in my opinion, except price. But ultimately, that's totally fine with me, right? I mean, I'm of the belief that if everything else moves in the right direction, price will have to follow at some point in time. And until then, DCA, in my opinion, right? I mean, I'm going to be buying more. When we saw this recent breakdown to 6, I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I'm going to sell everything. I was like, sweet, I'm going to go buy more, and it'll get me, more ICP for the same amount of money. So anyway, a little bit of a tangent there, but hopefully you did find the information in this video useful, because if you did, please do give me a like and a subscribe, because it really, really does help me out. Also, if you have any comments, questions, thoughts, feelings, concerns, whatever, drop those in the comment section below. I do try to read and respond to all of those. So if you have anything you want me to see, that'd be a great way to do it. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.